Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so glad you're joining us for this one.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Today, we've got a really expansive stack of sources in front of us. They're all curated from the March 7th, 2026 edition of a newsletter called The Sunday Blender.
That's a great issue.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to help you sort of unpack a world that is currently undergoing some massive tectonic transitions. I mean, we're looking at everything from artificial intelligence completely rewriting the global economy to heavy physical infrastructure, rapid-fire corporate fast food wars, and ultimately the enduring resilience of the human spirit.
It's a really sweeping collection of stories.
Yeah.
And what anchors all these, seemingly disparate sources together is the overarching theme the newsletter's editor chose for this issue, which is facing the storm.
Facing the storm. I love that.
Oh, right. As we sift through this material with you today, you'll start to notice a central thread. Whether we're analyzing a massive multinational tech conglomerate, a microscopic organism in the desert, or a legendary tennis player, the core challenge remains the exact same.
How do we adapt to rapid, overwhelming change?
Exactly.
And I think the best place to start is actually the origin story of the Sunday Blender itself, because it perfectly encapsulates that theme of adaptation.
Yeah, it's a fascinating backstory.
It really is. The editor shared this slightly ironic but very heartwarming story about their mother. She's a retired professor of translatology.
Which is the academic study of translation and localization, for those who might not know.
Right. And right before the Lunar New Year, she received this massive honor. A Chinese to English translation guide that she wrote years ago was officially selected by China's Ministry of Education as a national-level course guide.
Wow.
It's the ultimate recognition of a life's work.
Right. But the irony of that timing is just impossible to ignore.
Oh, completely. She receives this incredible award for teaching translation right at the exact moment universities are rapidly shutting down their translatology courses.
Yeah.
Because, as we all know, translation was one of the very first industries to absorb the full impact of the AI revolution.
Starting way back when ChatGPT launched in 2022.
Exactly. But rather than fighting that storm, rather than getting bitter, the newsletter's editor decided to lean right into it.
Right.
The Sunday Blender is actually a human-machine hybrid experiment. The editor sources these fascinating stories from Chinese news media and then employs Anthropic's AI, Claude, to generate the English translations and write-ups for the newsletter.
It's such a brilliant, practical response to disruption. The editor is doing on a micro level what the entire global workforce is attempting to figure out on a macro level right now. I mean, the debate is no longer about whether a machine can perform these tasks.
It's already doing them.
Right. It's about how to integrate that capability to enhance human output. And that shift in mindset is sending absolute shockwaves through the corporate world.
Speaking of shockwaves, we really need to look at Block, the payment technology company we used to know as Square.
Oh, yeah. This is a huge story.
I was looking through their fourth quarter results in the sources, and their gross profit was up 24% year over year.
Which is a massive win in this economy.
Right. But despite that soaring profit, CEO Jack Dorsey just laid off over 4,000 employees.
Yeah.
He cut the global workforce almost in half. They went from over 10,000 people down to just under 6,000. It seems incredibly counterintuitive. What is he seeing that the rest of the market isn't?
What's fascinating here is that he's looking at the fundamental mechanics of future productivity. Dorsey's argument to his investors was that this wasn't some desperate panic move to save a failing business.
Right, because profits were up.
Exactly. It was a proactive, strategic bet. He sees that emerging AI tools are making smaller, flatter teams significantly more effective than massive, layered corporate hierarchies. He decided to rip the bandage off now, cleanly and decisively, rather than subject his company to years of slow, agonizing cuts as the technology inevitably shifts the landscape.
He's predicting that almost every major enterprise will be forced to make this same painful transition.
He is. He's betting heavily on the rise of what the industry is calling agentic AI.
Agentic AI.
Right. And to really understand why he is so confident that smaller teams can do the work of thousands, we need to look at what's currently unfolding in the Chinese tech sector.
Oh, the OpenClaw situation.
Yes.
There is this open source AI agent called OpenClaw. It was built by an Austrian developer named Peter Steinberger, and it was recently acquired by OpenAI. And it is causing an absolute development frenzy right now.
And the frenzy is completely justified because OpenClaw represents a genuine leap in utility.
How so?
Well, for the past few years, we've been used to chatbots, right? Tools that generate text or code when you prompt them.
You ask a question, it types an answer.
Yay! Exactly. Agentic AI moves beyond conversation. OpenClaw actually executes tasks. It can manage your overflowing inbox, browse complex web pages to extract data, and operate applications directly on your computer's operating system.
It's actually doing things.
Right. It functions as an autonomous agent acting on your behalf.
And the grassroots hustle surrounding this in China is just incredible to read about.
Mhm.
Major local AI companies like Minimax and Moonshot AI are racing to build their own competitive cloud versions.
Mm-hmm.
But the detail I loved most is the cottage industry that sprouted up overnight. People are charging 500 yuan a pop to do on-site manual installations of OpenClaw for local businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, and you have these weekend developer meetups in Beijing suddenly overflowing with like 300 people just to workshop this single tool.
I really think we are likely witnessing AI's iPhone 4 moment.
The iPhone 4 moment.
Yeah, that critical historical juncture when the smartphone stopped being a clunky novelty for early adopters and transformed into an invisible, indispensable pillar of everyday life.
That makes total sense.
The sheer, undeniable utility of an agent that can do your busy work is forcing that exact same transition.
But relying so heavily on these digital agents comes with a really severe vulnerability.
It does.
The sources highlighted a pretty stark example from March 2nd. Anthropic's Claude Assistant experienced a massive outage.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was down for about 3 hours due to a surge in traffic after topping the App Store charts. And the fallout was immediate. Millions of software engineers were suddenly stranded.
The irony there is thick.
Yeah. Social media was instantly flooded with programmers half joking that they had completely forgotten how to write raw code without an AI assistant.
It exposes a profound fragility in our new system. The very architects who build our digital infrastructure have become entirely reliant on the tools they helped invent.
Right. When the AI goes offline, the builders literally drop their tools.
Exactly.
Which brings up a critical point for you as you think about how all this invisible software actually operates. Because none of this cloud intelligence is truly invisible.
Not at all.
It requires a massive physical footprint. Specifically, it demands staggering amounts of electricity. And regular consumers are starting to feel the impact of that demand on their monthly utility bills.
The scale of the energy draw is difficult to wrap your head around. Currently, AI data centers consume roughly 4 to 6% of all electricity in the United States.
Which is already a lot.
But the projections cited in the newsletter estimate that figure could double to 12% by 2028.
12%.
You cannot simply pull that much supplementary power from existing municipal grids without causing rolling blackouts and massive price spikes for everyday citizens.
And the political pressure over this just reached a boiling point. On March 4th, the White House actually stepped in. They got 7 of the world's biggest tech giants, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, Oracle, and xAI to sign the Ratepayer Protection Pledge.
So what did they actually promise?
They essentially had to promise the government that they would build or procure their own dedicated power supplies for their data centers rather than draining the public grids.
And they are backing that pledge with unprecedented capital. We're seeing a massive resurgence in nuclear energy driven entirely by tech companies.
This is wild. Microsoft just finalized a $1.6 billion agreement to restart a dormant nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island.
Right. And Meta has secured 1.1 gigawatts of nuclear power from facilities in Illinois.
Amazon is buying nearly 2 gigawatts from a plant in Pennsylvania.
To put that in perspective for you, 2 gigawatts is enough to power over 1 million homes, and it's all going to server farms.
The real race in tech right now isn't just about training the smartest algorithm.
No, it's a brute force physical race to secure enough electricity just to keep the servers turned on.
But here is where it gets really interesting, where the story pivots. While the giants are buying up literal nuclear power plants, a massive counter-movement is taking off, which is running AI locally.
Yes.
Alibaba recently launched a new open-source model series called Qwen. These are small models, and they were engineered entirely for efficiency rather than raw size.
Right, they aren't just scaled-down versions of massive, clunky models. They were built from the ground up to extract the highest possible reasoning capabilities using minimal computational power.
The technical specs in the newsletter are fascinating, but I want to make sure we ground them for a second.
Sure.
They mentioned the Qwen models range from 0.8 billion to 9 billion parameters, and they note the 9 billion model scored 70.1 on visual reasoning, beating out major cloud models.
Which is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, and the tiny 2 billion parameter model runs smoothly on standard iPhones at 30 to 50 tokens per second. But what does that actually mean for the average person holding the phone?
It's a great question. In AI, parameters are essentially the synaptic connections in the model's brain. A major cloud model might have 1 trillion parameters requiring massive servers.
Right.
A 2 billion parameter model is small enough to download directly onto your phone's internal hard drive.
Okay.
And 30 to 50 tokens per second is just a measure of speed. To put it simply, that means the AI is generating words significantly faster than you can comfortably read them.
Completely offline.
Completely offline, using only your phone's internal battery and processor.
Which makes perfect sense if Apple's very quiet, under-the-radar products dropped this week.
Yeah, they really snuck that one in.
They didn't host a flashy keynote. They didn't stream an event from Cupertino. They just quietly updated their store over several days. They released the iPhone 17e, featuring a new A19 chip, upgraded their MacBook Airs and Pros, and dropped what they're calling the MacBook Neo.
At $599.
Yeah. It's their most affordable laptop yet, powered by a mobile iPhone chip.
Apple's hardware strategy aligns seamlessly with Alibaba's software breakthrough here. Bypassing the energy-starved cloud and running highly capable AI directly on a personal device is quickly becoming the new standard.
It decentralizes everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It decentralizes the computing power and entirely sidesteps the energy grid bottlenecks we just talked about.
But let me push back on that for a second. Is Apple really doing this out of a noble desire to save the global energy grid? Or are they just utilizing local AI as the ultimate feature to ensure users stay permanently locked into their specific hardware ecosystem?
It's almost certainly both. I mean, Apple's primary directive is selling hardware. If they can convince you that your data is infinitely more secure and your AI is incredibly fast because it never leaves your physical device, that is a massive competitive moat.
Yeah.
The fact that it reduces their reliance on building multi-billion-dollar data centers is just a highly profitable side effect.
It really is. And the economics of all this are completely redrawing the global map. Let's look at the innovation data the newsletter highlighted.
Yeah.
The United Nations just released their 2025 report on international patent applications for digital communications and semiconductors. China topped the global rankings with 73,718 filings.
That marks a 5.3% increase from the previous year. And looking at this impartially, patent filings are a very reliable lagging indicator of where massive research capital has been flowing over the past decade. China leads, followed by the US, Japan, South Korea, and Germany.
But the data shows U.S. patent filings actually slid for the third consecutive year.
While China's Huawei retained its position as the top individual corporate filer globally, the geographic center of gravity for digital infrastructure investment is steadily shifting.
And the speed at which these new global businesses are scaling is just difficult to comprehend. Look at Minimax, one of the Shanghai-based AI companies we mentioned earlier. They went public on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in January. It was the largest IPO for an AI foundation model company to date.
Their first public earnings report provides what analysts are calling the AI industry's first open book.
Yeah.
Their 2025 revenue hit $79 million US, up 159% year over year. And crucially, over 70% of that revenue is coming from international markets outside of China.
They have a user base of 236 million people across 200 countries.
It's staggering.
But here's the statistic that completely breaks the traditional corporate scaling model. Minimax is a 4-year-old startup. They have exactly 428 employees. But their market capitalization is hovering around $29 billion US. They're rivaling the valuation of Baidu, an established tech giant that took over 20 years and thousands of employees to build.
Right.
400 people running a $29 billion global company.
That is the ultimate proof of Jack Dorsey's thesis at Block. When you have high-leverage AI tools, the revenue per employee ratio skyrockets.
It absolutely skyrockets.
And we are seeing that exact same hyper-efficiency radically disrupt the entertainment sector, too. The newsletter detailed the explosion of the short drama industry in China during the Lunar New Year, and the numbers are just off the charts.
They racked up 8.67 billion views during the Spring Festival.
Wow.
And almost 30% of those views were for AI-generated comic dramas. These aren't just cartoons. They use hyper-realistic digital actors that look indistinguishable from real humans on a smartphone screen.
That's why.
One particular title was produced by a team of just 3 people in 5 days, and it pulled in 200 million views in 29 hours.
The disruption here is purely economic. The production costs for these dramas are plummeting from over 1 million yuan down to roughly 100,000 yuan.
Wow.
When a three-person team with a tiny budget can generate hundreds of millions of views using hyper-realistic digital talent, you completely democratize the film production industry. The gatekeepers of traditional media are entirely bypassed.
Speaking of culture moving at light speed, the newsletter included 2 lighter stories that highlight how rapidly corporate messaging and pop culture are blending right now.
Oh, I love these.
First, there's a wild fashion collaboration. Formula One, Disney, and the Korean eyewear brand Gentle Monster released the 2026 Circuit Collection.
Yeah.
The flagship item is a pair of sunglasses called the F1 Wing 4. They physically modeled the frames after the front wings and air ducts of a Formula One car, but integrated Mickey Mouse aesthetics into the design.
It's a fascinating mashup. You are blending high-speed, elite mechanical engineering with deeply entrenched, playful pop culture.
Totally. And on the topic of pop culture, we have to talk about the fast food PR disaster of the year.
Oh, the big arch.
Yes. McDonald's CEO Chris Kempczynski tried to promote their new, highly anticipated Big Arch burger on social media, but he posted this incredibly sterile video where he spoke in a rigid monotone, clinically referred to the burger as a product, and when he finally took a bite, the burger looked remarkably small.
The internet absolutely tore him apart.
Oh, it was brutal.
It was a masterclass in how rigid corporate messaging completely fails in an era of authentic digital native communication. And his competitors immediately capitalized on it.
They really did.
The president of Burger King posted a video of himself in a working kitchen, wearing an apron and taking a massive, messy bite of a Whopper.
And the president of Wendy's followed suit right after.
It just demonstrates how a single, overly sanitized corporate post can instantly become a viral battleground.
It's fascinating how quickly we can rewrite software or go viral online, but moving actual atoms in the physical world requires a completely different kind of effort.
Right.
The newsletter transitions into looking at massive physical infrastructure. The Budapest-Belgrade Railway is set to fully open in March 2026.
That's a massive project.
It's a 350-kilometer track that serves as a critical artery for China's Belt and Road Initiative, connecting the port of Piraeus in Greece to Central Europe. Trains will hit 200 kilometers per hour, cutting the travel time between the capitals from a grueling 8 hours down to just roughly 3¼ hours.
The capital and labor required to execute a physical project of that scale is monumental. But the newsletter makes a stark, vital comparison here.
Yeah.
While governments and corporations pour billions into connecting cities and building data centers, we are chronically underinvesting in our own personal infrastructure.
Our physical health.
Exactly.
That is such an important pivot. March 4th was World Obesity Day, under the theme 8 billion Reasons to Act. The global statistics are genuinely alarming.
They are.
The rate of childhood obesity has skyrocketed from 4% in 1975 to nearly 20% as of 2022. And the steepest increases are happening in lower-income countries. By 2035, projections indicate that half of the entire global population,
Roughly 4 billion people,
will be classified as overweight or obese.
This is where the concept of facing the storm becomes deeply personal for you. Your personal infrastructure is built entirely on small daily habits. It's about choosing water over sugary drinks, committing to just 30 minutes of physical activity a day, and heavily regulating your daily screen time. If we don't actively maintain our physical and mental resilience, all the technological upgrades in the world won't matter.
And when you look at the natural world, science constantly reminds us of how incredible physical resilience can be. The sources highlight 2 discoveries that are just breathtaking.
Yeah.
The first is JNO, the Jiangmen Underground Neutrino Observatory in China. They built a 2.7 billion yuan, massive, transparent spherical detector 700 meters deep underground.
It's designed to study neutrinos, which are these elusive ghost particles that pass through our bodies by the trillions every second.
What's remarkable about JNO is the sheer scale of the global cooperation required to pull it off. You have over 700 scientists from 17 different countries working together.
Right.
And in just 59 days of turning the machine on, they outperformed 50 years of previous global experiments.
It's a true testament to what unified human focus can accomplish.
The second science story takes us from 700 meters underground to the driest place on Earth, the Atacama Desert in Chile.
This one is amazing.
It is a landscape so utterly barren that NASA uses it to test their Mars rovers. But scientists just discovered 36 distinct groups of nematodes, which are microscopic worms living beneath the soil.
In a place with virtually zero rainfall.
Yeah. Some of these worms survive entirely on passing fog, And in the most extreme, desolate zones, they've adapted the ability to reproduce without needing a mate.
Life finds a way. Those nematodes are the ultimate biological embodiment of endurance. They face an environment entirely hostile to life, and they adapt, persist, and carry on.
We see that same raw endurance reflected in the sports world this week. The milestones are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's 37-year-old record for the most field goals made in NBA history.
Yeah.
He secured his 15,838th career field goal.
Incredible.
And in that same week, Luka Doncic dropped 44 points for the Lakers, marking his 10th 40-point game of the season.
Luka's performance puts him in exceptionally rare company, tying franchise legends.
Over in Europe, we saw an incredible display of heart on the soccer pitch. Barcelona was down 4-0 to Atletico Madrid after the first leg of the Copa del Rey.
Right.
They came out and fought back fiercely, winning the match 3-0. They lost 4-3 on aggregate, but it was just a heart-stopping comeback attempt.
But out of all the sports coverage in the newsletter, the story that carries the most weight isn't about setting records or dramatic comebacks. It's about Venus Williams. She is 45 years old. She and her sister Serena have defined the sport for a generation. Venus has absolutely nothing left to prove to anyone.
No.
Yet she's currently enduring a 0-5 streak in 2026. And despite the losses, she keeps showing up. She isn't playing for money or legacy anymore. She's playing purely for the love of the game. That is what true resilience looks like.
It's beautiful. And speaking of endurance leaving a mark, there's a fascinating cultural story about the Sistine Chapel.
Yes.
Michelangelo spent 4 agonizing years painting that ceiling. Today, 5 to 6 million people visit every year to look up at it in absolute awe.
But the newsletter points out that over the centuries, the collective sweat and condensation from those millions of visitors actually reacted with the plaster, creating a white film that dulled the artwork.
So Vatican restorers are currently up on scaffolding, using purified water and specialized paper to gently wipe away 5 centuries of human awe and perspiration.
It's a striking, poetic image. Humanity literally leaves a piece of itself on the things it reveres. It brings us full circle to the editor's core theme of facing the storm.
It really does.
We see that resilience in the Atacama nematodes, in Venus Williams refusing to quit, and even in the 1942 classic film Casablanca, which the newsletter selected as its Art of the Week.
The connection to Casablanca is brilliant. You have Humphrey Bogart's character, Rick, operating in this chaotic, dangerous environment during World War II.
Right.
And when the storm finally reaches his doorstep, Rick chooses to sacrifice his own personal happiness for the greater good of the resistance. He faces the emotional storm and chooses a higher purpose.
Exactly. The storm forces clarity, it strips away distractions and reveals what actually matters.
Which sets up the final historical anecdote perfectly. The newsletter's This Day in History segment for March 7th highlighted the year 1082. The exiled, impoverished Chinese poet Su Donpo was caught in a sudden, violent rainstorm. While everyone else panicked and scrambled for shelter, Su Donpo calmly walked through the downpour, tapping his bamboo walking cane.
Right.
And he wrote a famous poem about how the sudden rain and the warm sunshine are one and the same. It's all about how you face the storm.
It's a beautiful thought.
It is.
And to leave you with a bit of humor, the newsletter closed with a joke. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, but an Apple phone all day keeps the PhD away.
Well, that's great.
It's a funny punchline, but it points to a much deeper, more provocative question for you to consider today. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about hyper-advanced AI agents, local models running on our phones, and the digital tools designed to manage our lives like OpenClaw.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, in this new age, are we using these incredible tools to weather the storms of our lives? Or are we letting the tools become the storm that distracts us from what truly matters?
Wow. Something really profound for you to chew on as you head back out into the world. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Stay curious, keep learning, and we will catch you next time.